Namaste, it's Renee, and welcome to my podcast, Peace, Love, Abundance. It's my podcast where I talk about things from yoga to health, nutrition, wellness, Ayurveda, herbs, and deep thoughts even sometimes, or even, limiting beliefs, things that get in our way. It's all encompassed because yoga is the whole picture. So is Ayurveda. So these are the things that I like to discuss in my podcast. Today, discussing the Vata Dosha. It's one of the 3 doshas of Ayurveda. Last episode, I covered the 3 doshas of Ayurveda and how they're comprised of the 5 elements. 5 elements was another episode. I believe it was episode 2 or 3. So if you need to go back and listen to the 5 elements, make sure you catch that episode. But today, the Vata Dosha. The 3 doshas are Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And today we're going to cover the Vata Dosha. Now, we should all have a little bit of all 3 doshas in us. When we have an imbalance, sometimes one of the 3 doshas is out of balance. So even if you normally, on a normal basis, tend to feel like you're a certain dosha, or you've ever done a dosha test and it came up Kapha, so you're thinking, oh, I'm Kapha, I don't need to listen to this Vata podcast. Well, let go of that thought. Let go of the thought that you are just one dosha. Let go of the thought that you are just Kapha, even if you do tend to have a lot of Kapha characteristics in you. When Kapha goes out of balance, it easily goes to Vata or Pitta, or vice versa. Pitta can also have a Vata imbalance or a Kapha imbalance. So to recognize these imbalances in your body, to pull yourself back to where you feel comfortable in your own skin, then you need to know all 3 doshas. Don't just live in one dosha, because then you won't understand what's wrong with you whenever you fall out of balance. So the Vata Dosha is air and space. The 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and space. The Vata Dosha is the air and space of those 5 elements. The Vata Dosha does tend to be more of a thin body type. But again, somebody can have a thin body type but have a Pitta or Kapha mind, or a Pitta or Kapha imbalance in the digestion. Even if you relate to the Vata a lot, you can still get out of balance towards Pitta and Kapha. So the thinner body type, though, is generally the type of person who can't gain weight. And when they do, it looks displaced or awkward. It's usually soft, loose, squishy fat. It's not muscle. They can work out, they can lift weights, and they very seldom ever show muscle mass or definition. It's really tough for them if they do want to be a bodybuilder. It's tough for them to get definition. They really have to consume the right foods and focus on the right things to get there. And it's really a challenge for them. Whereas sometimes they have these friends that naturally show definition with barely even trying. And the Vata has a naturally low fire. Or if you have a Vata imbalance, your fire is low. You're always cold. You can easily put out what fire you do have by drinking even colder beverages or cold smoothies. It's all the fad these days to wake up in the morning and fix yourself a smoothie with frozen strawberries and spinach and protein mix. And then you don't understand why you're even colder after you drink it, and your belly bloats and you have gas all day long. You're fighting gas and burping all day long. You can almost hope that burping is the worst of it, but unfortunately, those of you who know what I'm talking about, you have this belly, you feel pregnant, you got a food baby all day because you put the fire out with a cold smoothie, and now that food baby's just fermenting in your belly and creating gas. So if that's you, you need to stop drinking the cold beverages first thing in the morning right here, right now. You're just putting your fire out. And again, you can be of a kapha body or a pitta body, but have a vata digestion imbalance because of your habits. You're creating this vata imbalance because you're waking up every day and drinking iced coffee and a frozen strawberry smoothie. This can also lead to, I already mentioned, the gas and the bloating. You feel like you gained 10 pounds or you have a food baby right in the center of your gut. And also leads to constipation. All this high fiber food that you don't have enough fire to digest and break down, it moves into the intestines and the colon and can be very dry. And then you end up constipated or very dry stool that you have to work hard to push it out. So again, if these are things that are going on in your body, you have a vata imbalance. And some people just naturally always are leaning more towards this vata side. You might be a true vata dosha. You could also be creating this problem in your body, this imbalance, with your own daily habits and what you're eating and drinking. Vatas, when we move up into the mind and how they move about their day, they're very creative thinkers, but they also bore easily, meaning that they'll start something that they're really, really excited about, and then even if somebody tells them no, then they can really get their feelings hurt, and then they move on to something else, or they just get bored with it and want to move on to something else. Think of a dog with a bone, how excited they are when they first get their bone. They're like, yes, a new bone. I'm gonna chew on this thing all day long. And then next thing you know, a squirrel passes and they're like, squirrel. Anyways, that's your vata person. They can be very excited about an idea and a project, but one simple squirrel, and they're bored with that one and they're on to the squirrel. So in human form, though, this can really be being distracted by Facebook and social media and Instagram. So those things, social media becomes the squirrel. They're working on a project at work. They're very smart. They're very creative. They're good at brainstorming, troubleshooting, and all of that. But their phone blings. They look over and there's a new maybe message from somebody, and then while they read that message, they're like, well, I might as well check Facebook now that I'm here, and then I better check my Instagram, better check this, and that, and then next thing you know, they're not on the project anymore. Something needs to reel them back in like a fishing pole and get them back on track. And their mood swings, because of all this, their mood swings can swing as well. They can, again, maybe be bored and, I gotta just chew on this old chew bone all day today. This is all I get today. And then all of a sudden they're happy, like, oh my goodness, there's a squirrel. I'm so excited. So, they check their Facebook and they realize a friend just got engaged. Oh my goodness, I got to call my friend. She got engaged. There's the pictures on Facebook. So yeah, they can go from one mood to another, one from being bored and don't want to finish this project to being happy. They can be very irregular in many ways. So the mood swings, their digestion is very irregular, their sleep. One night they get great sleep, the next night not so great sleep. Their eating habits, they tend to be the type of person who likes to eat on the go and just shove the food in their mouth, not even think about what they're eating. And of course their poop is irregular, constipated, dry. Then maybe they take a laxative and then they have the opposite problem. So that IBS, that irritable bowel syndrome even. Their PMS as a woman can be worse than others. They tend to get the worst symptoms, the pain, the heavy cycles, and the energy is just really off because of all the irregularity. Sometimes they can even skip a period for a couple months and then it decides to come back and it comes back heavy, light. It can be all over the place. So again, you could have a pitta or kapha body, but if you're showing irregularity in any of these things, like even the PMS, then you've got a vata imbalance. Again, there's something in your daily habits that are pulling you to one side more than the other. So vatas do benefit from routine. Trying to create routine in their life, they will do better. They also do better with warm food, cooked veggies, and even warm beverages, hot teas. Definitely no ice cubes, room temperature water even at best. They'll do better if they eat 3 meals a day. So if they plan it out and eat 3 meals a day and making sure that they're getting meals that have some fat content to it, because the fat gives it lubrication as it's moving through your intestines and your colon, as well as other moist foods, like even yogurts and stuff like that. They do well with moist foods. So planning out your meals so that you're less apt to eat something you shouldn't, and just grabbing that raw apple that might just tear up your stomach. So you're better off planning your meals, and set a schedule. But they tend to want the opposite. They tend to not want a routine. They tend to not want to drink warm food or eat warm food and drink warm beverages. And they tend to not want to have to worry about 3 meals a day because, again, they're super creative and on the go and distracted easily. So the regimen of having 3 meals a day and even having them planned out is just too much sometimes for the Vata to even think about, because they're too busy bouncing back and forth between the work they need to get done and their social media. So they tend to want to do the opposite. They tend to want to eat salads or raw veggies all day and drink iced coffee and only eat when they're hungry, which sometimes their hunger is skewed because their belly is so bloated from the frozen strawberry and spinach shake they had for breakfast that they're still feeling bloated even at lunch, because even by lunchtime their body still hasn't been able to digest that because of the lack of fire in their body. But again, they're so constipated and not digesting that they have this food baby that's uncomfortable. But maybe their blood sugar is getting low because they're not feeding themselves any new fuel to burn either. So it's this really horrible, vicious cycle where they're not digesting their food, but their body still wants more food. So they're irritable, mood swings, because their body needs more fuel to burn because it can't burn what it gave it. Anyways, it's a vicious cycle. I could go on forever. Anyways, the Vata person tends to not want to be on a schedule. They tend to want to just eat salads all the time and drink iced coffee. But it's what is creating their imbalance. They're even easily getting distracted because of all this. So it's even feeding into their mindset because they're so uncomfortable in their own body at this point that any distraction makes them feel better and takes their mind off of the food baby that's just fermenting in their belly and making them farty and bloaty. So obviously if a Vata tends to not want to follow a routine and plan out their food so that they can eat some good cooked foods, then they're always going to be uncomfortable and mood swingy and distracted. Eating disorders are sometimes big in the Vata imbalance world. Yes, eating disorders. People who have eating disorders tend to think that eating veggies, raw veggies with 0 fat, will help them lose weight and stay skinny, but they're eating healthy, right? It's healthy. This is healthy. This is good for me. But again, it's only going to make their stomachs upset and then be even constipated. They're going to reach for stimulants like laxatives and coffee to get them going. And then they are on the roller coaster of eating this raw food, thinking that they're going to lose weight and be healthy, but then their stomachs are constantly upset. They even go to the doctors often saying, "Doctor, I don't know what's wrong with my stomach. It's completely upset. Nothing I eat feels good." But that's because the only thing they're trying to eat is a bunch of raw veggies. They're trying to shove an entire salad down them. And then their stomach is upset and they don't know why. And then the fatter they feel, because they have this food baby fermenting in them, the fatter they feel, that messes with even their psyche and their mindset, that they're not good enough and they're fat and they're ugly. And so then therefore sometimes they even just stop eating, period. Or the bulimicy, where they want to purge all the time because they're so uncomfortable. Their belly is so uncomfortable. They want to purge to get that out of their body. And it can be really, that obstacle to get past, because once things get to be even a mindset, or they start to think that it's a mindset without validating, no, my stomach is upset. Maybe these vegetables aren't serving me well. Maybe I should start eating a different way. Instead of connecting the dots in that aspect, they continue with the destructive patterns of trying to shove raw vegetables in their body and either purging them or not eating at all because their stomach is upset. So it's very much a vicious circle for many reasons, and these imbalances are not good. So again, you can be of any body type. There are kaphas out there with eating disorders. There are kaphas out there that have a kapha body, but they're eating like a vata and having digestive issues, and it just feeds the whole cycle. So that's why you need to know about all 3 doshas to keep your body in balance. It's just so important. And none of this has to do with any fad diets. This is truly listening to your body. It's your mind, body, spirit, and even some common sense. However, don't feel bad by me saying common sense, because if you've never been taught to connect these dots and to understand what is going on in your body, then it can't be common sense until maybe somebody introduces it to you. But then once you get it, once you learn Ayurveda and you understand the principles and the properties of it, then it does become this daily common sense of, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have drank that smoothie this morning. This is exactly what Renee was talking about, because my stomach does not feel good. I'm cold. I can't. It's the middle of summer and I have a sweater on. Though, because each dosha has a season, if you are going to eat raw veggies and drink frozen strawberries and spinach, summertime is the time to do it. So when it is hot outside and you need to cool down the body and the pitta is flowing better in all of us, the digestive fire is burning higher, then go for it. Eat raw veggies in the summer. That's when they're fresh and local anyways. If you eat seasonally and locally, that's the time to have it anyways. But still, keep in mind, resist wanting to put out your fire, because the moment you douse that fire with too much cold water or ice cubes or frozen strawberries, you're going to go the other direction. It might just be temporary because it's hot outside, but you're going to feel miserable for at least a day if you take it too far with the cold beverages and the frozen strawberries. So just be mindful, listen to your body, and know that Vata is in all of us. Some of us less than others. Some of us may go our whole lives without knowing what all this feels like, and then all of a sudden they have a couple months where they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Everything I eat is giving me gas, and then you're taking anti-gas pills and papaya enzymes, and you're trying to get your food to digest when all you need to do is simply just cook it. Start to cook your food. When you feel this is going on in your body, when you're constipated and your stool is dry, even your skin will look dry. A true Vata or true Vata imbalance, even your skin is drying up. Wrinkles are becoming more apparent because you even have less water and fat in your cheek tissues to fill up your cheeks. Because the other thing about Vatas is they tend to want to avoid fat because, again, they lean sometimes a little bit towards worrying about being fat, because the minute they gain a little bit of weight, it's uncomfortable for them. Remember, they're used to being skinny, so they gain a little bit of weight and it looks awkward on them and it's squishy and it's right around the midsection. So the first thing they cut out often is consuming fat in their diet. So they cut out all the fat, and again, they're back to eating raw veggies with very little fat in the raw veggies. So their skin is starting to dry out and look wrinkly because they're getting no fat in the body to help hydrate them from the inside out. And then they're getting dry stools or constipation. So it all, again, once you hear it, And once you really start to listen to your body, it's going to start to seem kind of like common sense. Like, well, duh, right? But you know what? Hang in there. It can also be confusing. And it's also a journey. Every day is different. That is why a diet doesn't work for everybody. The same diet will not work for everybody. Vatas also do better adding a little bit of protein. So if you have a true Vata imbalance, you're so cold you can't warm yourself up, animal protein warms up the body. So the Vatas tend to need a little bit of at least some bone broth or a little bit of meat, animal protein. So even if you're a vegetarian, if you have a severe imbalance, often it's going to be animal protein that's going to pull you out of that severe imbalance. You don't have to eat it forever. If you're really like the vegetarian way and you the thought of animals and everything is just so important to you, then just have a little bit of fish or some chicken breast here and there to keep you in balance when you feel out of balance. I have a vegetarian friend who told me she eats an egg when she feels out of balance, and it pulls her back in. And then she'll go a week or two just eating vegetarian style until she feels like she's out of balance again. But she's listening to her body. She's doing what feels right for her. That's all you need to do is listen to your body. Your body will tell you what it needs. But until you know how to interpret those signals, until it becomes common sense for you every day, then it's a roller coaster ride. And if you stick yourself in one category, if you stick yourself in one of these three categories and not recognize the imbalance of the other two doshas, then it's going to be a constant struggle for you as well. So I leave you with cultivate all three doshas. The other two doshas are to come in the next couple of episodes. But already I hope by learning about Vata, even if you only have a slight Vata imbalance, I hope maybe I shared something with you today that might shed light on that slight Vata imbalance to help pull you back the other direction. Work towards balancing your body. Get exercise. Vatas need to exercise to warm them up, get the blood flowing in their bodies, and that also gets the digestive fire going to get exercise. So whatever you can do to keep that fire going and eating warm cooked foods, beverages, get the blood pumping and moving, and you'll be surprised. You can turn that Vata imbalance around. Maybe even start to lose weight. You might even lose weight quickly because if you've been eating these raw veggies and the fat you have in the midsection is kind of fake fat, it's just there because you're not digesting your food. I've known people to start cooking their veggies and within a week feel like they lost 10 pounds because that bloating in their belly, like popping a balloon, the bloating in their belly went down instantly. So just be mindful. Listen to your body. Do what feels right. Look forward to the next 2 episodes coming up. We'll do Pitta next and then Kapha. Subscribe to my podcast so that you get the notifications as soon as those 2 episodes are recorded and in the can. And let's get your body on track. Let's start building some common sense with our mind-body connection. Let's start connecting the dots. And then the common sense just becomes Pavlov's, that you know exactly why your body feels the way it does because you just ate a bunch of raw veggies. Or maybe the opposite. It's ridiculously hot outside and your body needs some cucumbers to cool you down because Pitta is next. Pitta is all about the fire in your body and what to do when the fire's burning too brightly and how we can calm down the Pitta. So thank you for being here today. Your feedback and suggestions are always welcome. I love you all, and I leave you with peace, love, abundance, and namaste.